What I want to talk about this morning is in Galatians 3. We've spoken about it in depth over the last few weeks, but I just want to circle over onto one particular word. So in verse 1, it says, "You foolish Galatians." That's talking about those who practice legalism and are trying to be justified by law. And that's talking about like the lack of perception that they have, right? And it's Paul saying, "Who has bewitched you?" What I find is interesting is the word bewitched. So bewitched means to be put under a spell and being appealed to some sort of vanity or selfishness, right? And that is being controlled by an evil power. And that is often heavily involving or being commandeered, I don't know what the word is or how to say it, by like envy, which is typically the driving force behind any kind of witchcraft. But what's interesting to me is that being bewitched, it's the use of this word in this scripture because there's no other use of this word in scripture anywhere else. And so that got me just kind of thinking this morning that it limits reasoning and it obscures the cross and atoning work of Jesus. Because if you look at the context of the rest of the scripture, and you can refer back to some of the previous shorts that I have done in the last few weeks, legalism insists on converted Gentiles to adhere to works of the law in order to get full covenant status. But they're missing the point completely because faith is the means that justification is received. And so I just found that really interesting. It's worth the look and the deep dive into the previous shorts, kind of explaining and breaking down all these verses, because every divine promise that the Lord gives is sealed by bloodshed. So that is what seals the new covenant. And the new covenant is often the divine promises, the prophetic promises that the Lord has spoken over our lives. So if you tie that thought and truth into the rest of this passage, it opens your understanding, which is the point.